Hello. When my son Alex told me he had a problem with the headphones he was using on his Huawei phone, I never imagined things would work out so complicated. Let's see what happened. So, what do you have here, Alex?
I've got Samsung headphones and some cheap Chinese junk.
Of a phone, right. And what happens when you try to use those headphones, Alex?
It comes out the phone instead of the headphones.
Right, so probably the problem is with the plug. But this should never happen, of course. It should detect that the headphones are plugged in and switched over to the headphones. But for some strange reason it's not. And we've already proven that the fault doesn't lie in the phone, haven't we, Alex? Because we tried some big headphones and it worked fine. So probably it needs a new plug on here. But we came up with a different solution, didn't we? What did we buy you, Alex?
Wireless headphones.
Right, they're Bluetooth, aren't they?
Yes.
And what happened to the first pair of these you bought?
They didn't. They stopped working after the first few hours of using
And what
it.
happened? What was the symptom? Can you remember?
No.
I think it was a horrible crackling noise, wasn't it?
Oh yes.
So it wasn't a problem with the actual transducers. The problem was somewhere in electronics, yeah? And we sent them back and got a replacement set from eBay, didn't we? And what were the replacements like?
They were really good.
Really good. For about a day, I think, wasn't it, Alex? What happened?
They got wrecked inside my school bag.
Yeah, so they're the transducers. They've actually got twin transducers in these, and somehow he managed to snap the transducer off. And I might have been able to repair that, but you've lost this whole assembly, haven't you?
Yes.
What was the sound quality like on these, from what you remember?
Really good.
What's the sound quality like on these Samsung ones?
Really good.
Right, so how would you feel about the Samsung transducers being fitted onto these Bluetooth headphone receivers? Would that be good?
Yes.
Right, okay, let's have a go at that then, shall we? Come back later, Alex. Okay, so we have the Samsung headphones here that we know we have a problem with the plug. And yeah, sure enough, I could change this plug. But that's not really what he wants. He wants wireless anyway. And the replacement plugs tend to be quite bulky, so not the ideal solution. And the alternative, of course, is these. Can we graft these headphones onto these cables? Now, I could easily do this by cutting the wires and soldering on these wires onto these and using heat shrink to make it a reasonably strong joint. But would it be strong enough? Maybe not. So perhaps what I should do is see if there's any way I can wire right the way into these Samsung ones. The hazard is that I may actually break them. What do you think? Can I get these apart? It certainly was my original intention that I solder these onto these wires, but I really don't know if it's going to be possible. Trying desperately to pull this apart. Let's use a spudger. This chrome on here is just paint that's sprayed onto the plastic, and my spudger is damaging that slightly. Is there any prospect of getting this off without major damage? If I break the voice coil on the headphones, of course, it's all over. Plan A, by the way, was that I was just going to replace the damaged unit here, but of course then you don't get a decent stereo effect, that the two sides would sound different, so that's not an ideal setup. Let's replace both of them with the Samsung ones. think the spudger is actually too thick to get in there. Maybe I need to use a small knife blade. Let's have a look. Let's give this a go. Should we call emergency services now? Okay, I'm close to admitting defeat. We're not going to break into this thing, are we? So we're going to have to go with the other approach, which is to cut the wire. Didn't want to do it that way because, however well I try to build the join, there's a risk that it will pull apart. But I have no choice. Now these are actually marked up left and right. There we are, it says right there. So let's make sure we get them the right way around. Are these marked up left and right? No. Can you believe that? What a bad design. Okay, let's get Alex to go and test these again and tell us which this is, if that's left or right. There's several things on YouTube where they say this is a left channel, this is a right channel. So we'll use one of those and find out which one this is and be back shortly. Right, we've hit a very strange problem. I've asked Alex to play one of these YouTube videos that just gives you left channel and right channel. And to my horror, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's saying left and right channel out of the one earphone. Two possible scenarios there. One is these headphones are so cheap and nasty that they're actually mono. Or the other is they're so intelligent they realise they've only got one transducer connected, so they switch to mono mode. So I'm going to have to connect a transducer to this side just to see if that wakes it up. So let's solder a transducer onto there and see what happens. So what I'm going to do, of course, this is this wire here is enamel coated for insulation. So we'll burn off the enamel coating and we'll tin the wires. This is only a temporary connection. It only has to be good enough to work for a moment. Okay, we should be able to make contact with that. Now I need an earphone or headphone. We won't use the Samsung ones because we've never got a cabling problem with them. So we need to use a pair of headphones to connect to here. I could use the oscilloscope and look for signal there, but since we need to provide a dummy load as well, it's easier just to connect up another pair of headphones. So Alex, would you go and provide me with another pair of headphones that work, please? Any headphones, they're not going to get damaged. Okay, so what I've done here, I've put a 3.5mm jack plug on there where the transducer would go. It doesn't matter which earphone it's connected to, it doesn't matter if I've got signal and ground the right way around. We just want to get something out of here, and then that will be the other one. So let's try the left-right thing again and see what happens. Okay, so now with this configuration, let's see what's coming out of this one. That's doing left and right from that one. And let's see if anything's coming out of the other headphones, which are connected to this tangle of wiring. Okay, so both left and right are coming out of both headphones. So this means that these headphones must be mono. Well, no, one more thing. It may have done a startup test. So let's reboot this unit, because maybe it did a startup test and thought, oh, I'm only mono, so that's why it's putting out audio out of both. So I'm going to reboot this one. So I've powered it down. It's powered up again.
Left channel.
Okay. It might need to pair, I think, again, Alex. Let me know when it's paired.
Paired.
Right. So what do we have? Both channels on that transducer, which is the original and the latched up ones. Oh dear, both. So they're mono. That's depressing. Alex,
Yes.
they're rubbish.
Uh,
Are they even worth fixing?
Probably not.
Okay, let's take stock. These are the Bluetooth headphones that got damaged, but anyway, we've discovered they're only mono, so they're not worth repairing. Now, originally, Alex was trying to use these headphones. These are Samsung ones, and he likes these. They're comfortable, and they did work, but now they've stopped working on his cheap Chinese junk phone. The problem being that the sound continues to play on the phone speaker, even when the headphone jack is plugged in, unless you push it in and wiggle it and jiggle it just right. The headphones that came with the Chinese phone do work reliably, but they're uncomfortable. This type of earpiece doesn't fit Alex's little ears. So if these work reliably and these don't, you have to say, well, there's something different. I mean, okay, clearly there's a tolerance problem with the jack socket on the phone, but we don't really want to have to send this back and be without the pile of rubbish. So what's going on here? Well, you could say that there's a switch in there somewhere which is activated by the headphone being plugged in. Typically you'd expect it to be somewhere near the end, but you could be anywhere within the, and it detects when the headphones are plugged in and switches off the internal speakers. And some headphones, such as these and some big JVC cans he has, work, and other headphones, such as these and any of these jack plugs that I've tried, do not disable the internal speakers. So let's see if there's a tolerance difference between these jack plugs. Bring our magnifier through. Looking at them visually, don't see anything. Just putting something flat there to sit against the shoulder of the jack plugs. Line those up. And now let's look at the tips. Hold on, let's try and do that a little bit more accurately. Line the shoulders up there, and now look at the tips. Well, you wouldn't say there's any difference in length, would you? Which is surprising. I thought the headphones that do work, these ones with the silver coloured plug, would have been slightly longer than these Samsung ones with the gold plug. Okay, what about the thickness, the width? Now, of course, it's a 3.5mm jack plug. So the body here, these rings, should be 3.5mm. You know what, I might use the jaws here on my micrometer because they're bigger and flatter. And it reads 3.5, just about 3.5mm, depending where you land, on the headphones that do work. And on those that don't work, unconvincing. It's about the same. It really is. There's not enough difference to make a difference. And what about the tip of this thing? I think that's narrower. Let me measure that. The very tip there. 2.99mm on the working headphones. 2.99mm on the non-working headphones. So where does it get us? It doesn't feel like it's the size of the jack plug that's making a difference. There is a difference in the insulators. You can see that on the ones that don't work, the insulators are slightly wider. Could that make a difference? Let's look at one of these other plugs that doesn't work. Oh, that's mono. Here we go. This one doesn't work. Well, yes, the insulators are slightly thicker there. Not enough to be convincing though, is it? let's do it again. Let's switch on the some sound from this phone. Alex, if you'd be so kind, get it to play something. Okay, so this is the comfortable headphones. No, I can't get the speakers to disable. And the uncomfortable headphones. There was a moment's delay before it enabled, but it did. There's a distinct delay, isn't there? There's a definite delay, which means it's not as much just a switch, it's a signal to the machine to switch over. And that signal's just not happening on these. Well, what can we say? I'm not absolutely convinced there's anything physical to do with the jack plug at all. And it might be that if I was to, and I'm not about to do this, fit the working plug onto the Samsung headphones, I think there's every possibility it still wouldn't work. Let's go back and try some different plugs and see if any of my 3.5mm plugs will disable the sound here. I'm struggling to get this phone to work. Right. Oh look, that one works. Okay, so if I was to solder that plug onto the comfortable headphones, then it would in theory work. But for the fact that my son has a case on his phone that wouldn't allow that plug to fit. So this is a kind of a tough case thing going on here. And this gets out of the way. Okay. Can we plug this jack into the phone with the case on it? Maybe. Let's see if we can play something. No, I don't believe so. I can still hear the response sounds. No. So we're yeah, you can get it to work sometimes, but it's going to be unreliable because the body of this will foul on the body of this large case. Where do we go? Try a different jack plug. Don't think there's much chance of this one working, but we'll give it a whirl. No, there's no way that's going to fit. It's just too bulky. No. So our best bet so far, maybe, to either fit this plug, which isn't terribly convenient, onto the comfortable headphones, or steal this plug off the uncomfortable headphones and put it on the comfortable headphones. Even though I can't see a difference, there must be a difference. Okay, let's decide which we're going to do. Okay, we've made a decision here. What we're going to do, we've decided to transplant the silver plug from the uncomfortable headphones onto the headphones from Samsung, which have the gold plug, but which doesn't work on the phone. Even though there's no obvious reason that that should work and that doesn't, it is nevertheless the case. We're going to blame it on the phone and tolerance issues. One of the reasons for choosing this route is because we believe we will retain the functionality of the volume control or track skip or whatever the functions are here by connecting up all the wiring. Though we're going to have a little bit of fun because we've got 4 wires to connect instead of 3, but we can handle that. So what I'm going to do is cut the wire a little distance back and then meter out which contact is which and then connect them all up the same, and I'll have to find a way to make sure it's really robust. Right, let's begin. So we have three contact wires and a ground which goes between them all. So I'll have to tin these so I can work out what the pinout is. This is a plug that we're discarding, remember. Okay, so we have the wires there. Now we'll just put our multimeter onto continuity. Now clearly this braiding is going to be ground, which should be this ring here. So we'll just confirm that. No. Okay. Which contact is? Am I doing something wrong here? Let's tin this too. Okay, so the second ring is ground. Once I've finally made continuity. So I'll write that down on my list. On the red wire, it's the third ring. Green is the top one. And by elimination, black should be the bottom one. Again, I'm not making contact, I suspect, because I'm not seeing that continuity. So let's just make sure that I'm fully tinned through on that black wire. Tip is green. Next one is red. Next one is ground. And the next one is apparently not black. Maybe the cable's defective? The plug's defective? It's possible. So we're a little bit mystified as to what's going on with that last contact, because it is not what we expected. I think we're going to ignore that problem for a moment and see what we get on the silver plug from the headphones that do work but are uncomfortable. Okay, this is the plug we need to salvage because it does work. So I'm going to give a decent amount of cable on this. We really can't afford to run out of cable on this one. The construction looks fairly similar. We have ground wires, one of which is wrapped around. Okay, so we have a red and a green, and then this It's one of the wires that are wrapped around, which is blue, I believe, here. We can make no assumptions that the colours will match. We need to prove them. So here we have the silver plug, which is the one we're going to fit on the Samsung headphones. We need to see if we can make any sense of the wiring on here. I'm assuming already that the this ring here will be ground as per the others, so let's just prove that. Yes. Add that to my list. The tip was green last time. Let's see what it is this time. Green by any chance? Disentangle my wires slightly. No. I don't think I'm making contact with the green one. Let's see if this... Oh, did I get it for a moment then? Yes, I think so. Let's prove that. Yes. Green is the tip. Logically then this would be red. Correct. And then the bottom one will be whatever the other wire is, and it may or may not make contact because it didn't on the other plug. It does on this one. Interesting. So that's blue in this case. So we're going to have to connect that to the wire that's black on the other one, because we don't have anything else to go on. So the colours all map across basically, except that we think what's blue on this plug is probably black on the other headphones. Now these are the comfortable headphones in my hand, and this is the wire to them. So we need to join those two together and make such a strong connection that a teenager can't rip it apart by accident. That should be quite hard. So I need to join these together, but make it very robust. Though I can just heat shrink it and solder, it wouldn't take much to pull it apart. I think at the risk of a little bit of extra bulk and untidiness, what we might do is tie the two cables together with a cable tie before putting the heat shrink on. Not so pretty, but a lot stronger. Okay, so what I'm going to do is solder those together and run this heat shrink over the top. Right, let's do that. I could use some small heat shrink for the individual contacts within here too. Now that it's cooled down, that's not bad. It feels reasonably strong. Nothing's obviously flexing or giving in there. It's a bit more slack here than I'd have liked, but what can you do? There's only so much shrink ratio on heat shrink. But overall, the effect now is that we have the comfortable Samsung headphones wired up correctly and working on the plug that will work on the cheap Chinese junk phone. I think what I may do is pour a little bit of epoxy resin down that gap to seal it up and make it extra specially strong. Good. Job's fairly well done there. Right, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I've now put some epoxy in there to make it nice and teenager proof. Alex, test it for us, please. I do hope this works. Do you know which is left and right? It actually does say, because they're decent headphones. It says on the inside there. That's right, isn't it? Right. So the left and right channels both working?
Yep.
And the remote control features?
Yep. Thank
Brilliant.
you.
You're welcome. Oh.
Edit that out.
Okay, I'm a little bit interested in what was going on here in the first case. And I believe the original failure we had was actually with the Samsung headphones. You see, the phone would not disconnect its internal speaker when the Samsung headphones were connected with this jack plug. And I've now come to the conclusion that the phone does not work in the way that a conventional switched 3.5mm jack socket works. Usually what happens is when you plug this in, it disconnects a circuit. It has a contact which is shaped in such a way that I've not done a very good job of drawing that, have I? That when this is plugged in, it pushes on a metal spring and disconnects an internal circuit. And that's the way traditionally a 3.5mm jack socket was built. And I think I've got one here where you can just about see in there the contact which is disconnected when a plug is inserted. So as a plug is inserted here, it breaks a contact as well as making one. But that's not the way the phone works. No, the phone is cleverer than that. You insert this 4-pole plug, and well, if you have a 3-pole one, which is a more conventional stereo headphone type, you'd have this kind of plug with a tip, a ring and a sleeve. These two contacts here, if you have two separate contacts on the phone, these two are shorted together. The phone detects that and says, oh, I've got a pair of headphones, and it works. When a more up-to-date type of headphone system like this is inserted with the extra ring, it has a contact here which was black or blue, which is to the microphone and any other switches that appear on the system. So this one I think has got a push to talk type thing for the microphone, and the other headphones, the Samsung ones, could do more. They could track skip and volume up and down and such. And the way that works is by either shorting or applying a resistance between this extra ring and ground. But additionally, there's also a microphone, and in this case it's built into here. So you'd have this, remember, is the microphone contact, this is ground, this is right, and this is left. So here we'll have a microphone which appears as a capacitor. It's a capacitive microphone. And then some resistors on switches, which would be different value resistors depending what you're switching. For example, if you're doing fast forward or rewind or call accept or what have you, they'd all have different resistors. And how many different ones there are permissible, I'm not entirely certain. But these different resistors tell the phone what to do. But still, this wouldn't tell the phone that a pair of headphones was plugged in, because with none of the buttons pressed, a capacitor's an open circuit. It couldn't easily detect that. Could with AC signals, but that would be power hungry. So there must be some other way and I think there's a resistor in here, a fixed resistor in here. So we're going to try and prove that. So what we have, I've wired up the headphones which Alex didn't like, they're uncomfortable ones. I've gone down to the wiring here, so we've got the ground and in this case the blue wire, and I'd hook that up to multimeter and let's see what we get. Ah, you see, right, 2.2k that reads. So there is a resistor there, 2.2k, and if I close this, press this, it'll probably apply a resistor, some other value, 1 point something ohms. Oh, it's dead short then, really. Okay, so in this case, a dead short, which is the accept call. So you press that, it shorts out the microphone, you let go, and it tells the phone to pick up the call. So the reason that the headphones didn't work, when we went back and I was metering out here, I couldn't find the black wire making contact inside the original plug. Or do I still have the original plug? I've lost it in all my junk here. There we go. I couldn't find a contact between the black wire and this ring, and there should have been. And that's why the Samsung headphones didn't work. Because with that contact missing, the 2K resistor was missing, the phone didn't know that headphones had been plugged in, and so it carried on putting sound out the speaker. That was our original fault. So there was me having a go at Huawei for their cheap Chinese junk, and actually it was Samsung that had failed because this black wire went open circuit. Well, that went quite well in the end. I hope you've enjoyed this video about fixing these headphones. Do please remember to like, share and especially subscribe, and then I'll do more content on audio and video technology in the future. Bye for now.